Luke, I'm your father. I'm about to throw all these LEDs from Custom Dynamics into my bike. This is gonna be amazing. I cannot wait. Now my cousin Sean, he calls it under cabinet lighting. I'm gonna call it accent lighting from Custom Dynamics. These guys know how to make this product. I've already got it temporarily connected. We're gonna start working around on the bike and figure out where we wanna put it. I'm gonna be mounting 2 strips underneath the front fender, 2 strips underneath the fuel tank. I'm going to be putting 2 strips under the rear tank, rear fender. So we know that we have 6 dedicated lines of LED strips. Now, I'm going to ask my lovely assistant who's behind the camera to push the top right button on the remote. And that's going to give us a strobe effect. And there's about 10 different patterns that you can use with this. So I've called it my lightsabers. My cousin Sean, Dr. Sean Kohler, who's a chiropractor in Barrie. He's the best chiropractor ever. He gave me my first adjustment last year. Anyways, he is a funny guy, calls it under cabinet lighting. So for Sean's sake, we're gonna call it under cabinet lighting. But really it is accent lighting. It's gonna look totally badass on the bike. Custom Dynamics knows exactly what they're doing. It's a really neat system how they make it all connect together. We're gonna start installing it, and we're gonna start installing it now. Cannot wait. Now the accent lighting is very, very cool. We've already opened it up and took a look at some of the components that you get when you open up the box. You get all these wires. This one here, I've already unwrapped this one to show you the length. And this is basically going to give you the ability to run these anywhere on your entire bike. The distance is not that far. And if you look at this carefully, you're going to see that you have 3 available options to mount these LEDs to the inside, hidden away, tucked up so you don't see them. You can mount them on the sides, you can mount them straight up and down, you can mount them on either side. It's absolutely amazing. And of course it comes with the wire leads that are going to then eventually go into, they're going to go into these parts right here. And as you can see, we've come up with one of those, we have one of these. There's all the LED that's going to go on the bike in all of the areas that we want it to be in order to light up the bike and create accent lighting. This is the system right here. Now, I'm not a huge fan of bright white lights on a bike, so what I've elected to do is pick up the black Magic remote control, which comes with a remote control module that actually is the brains of the system. And you can see here that the remote control is called the BM3. You're going to have a negative and a power wire that runs to your battery as always. Then you're going to have these that are going to connect into the actual brains of the system. And then when you actually turn on the remote control, there's a remote that comes with it, and you actually get 2 in case you're like me and forget stuff. And you're going to have a slider that opens up. Now these we'll get into later. We'll show a demonstration on the installation of this. And we're also going to be working on getting it installed in a later episode. So as you can see, we've got our work cut out here and all the installations that we need to do. We're going to take our time, we're going to be meticulous on this, we're going to make sure that we do a good job getting all this stuff installed, and when we have it all in and mounted on the motorcycle, it's definitely going to make the bike super unique in terms of its front and rear lighting, also its accent lighting. Super excited about Custom Dynamics. Okay, so for demonstration purposes in my little sword act, I connected all these lights into the actual bus connectors, these little connector guys right here. Now these connectors are pretty amazing. What you can do is if you take all the blacks, run them into one, take all the whites, run them into the other, you have the feed wires which run into the remote control box, which is right here, and then this remote control box simply connects to the battery of the bike. So we have a lot of wires to run throughout the bike. We're going to take some time and we're going to figure out the best way to do it. Now I know for a fact that my front fender is where I'm going to be putting 2 of these long Stingerz strips. I want to make sure that they're both mounted. Now these LED strips they've got a 3M tape on 3 sides of them, so the actual diodes are open, but you can mount it on the sidewall this way, and they're flexible too. So you can mount it on the sidewall, you can mount it on its back, or you can mount it straight up depending on what you're shooting for. My dog's barking. So basically when we're going to do that, now what I did figure out is that you can take one of these light strips and the other light strip, so let's say we just grab 2 of them for example, and you can cut and make a connection inside the fender so that you only have one wire coming from the fender up into the actual main harness here. So you don't have to have all these wires running throughout your bike. You really only need one dedicated wire running from the front to the cage controllers, the cage connectors right here. Here's a quick tip while you're putting on the lights. I decided to put a set of lights behind the horn here. If you see the actual, this is the horn cover as it looks on the left side of the motorcycle. But I decided to put some lights in here. The problem was the horn was kicked and turned so that this edge of the horn was sitting down here and I didn't have enough room for my lights. So all I did was I unscrewed this light, this bolt here, the nut, and then I was able to turn the entire horn housing inside of the harness, inside of the cover, to create a flange at the bottom in order to install some LED lights. There's your tip for the left side of the bike. When I'm falling down, will you pick me up again? When I'm too far gone, dead in the eyes of my friends, will you take me out of here? When I'm staring down the barrel, when I'm blinded by the lights, when I cannot see your face, take me out of here, take me out of here, take me out of here, take me out of here. So you're probably wondering how I got the lights in here. What I did in the front fender here was I actually mounted them up inside of the fender, just parallel to the wheel. You can see them right there. And then I joined the two wires together, and then I was able to run the wires up from the side of the fender where the original front light was. There was a front light up there originally. And I just ran the wires out of there, up through the cowbell, and then in the top of the cowbell up here, up in the top of the cowbell where it meets the cover plate there, I drilled a tiny little hole and let the wire come up through and then into the bike. In behind the air cleaner, the alloy art air cleaner, I mounted it there and ran the wires up into the seating area, and then underneath the oil tank there, I ran a pair of that sights there, and then up in the back of the bike back there, I just simply ran two sets of lights on each side of the fender, almost parallel with the rear strut there, and ran the wires into the center of the seat area. It's very easy to do, it didn't take a lot of time. Oh, and then of course I ran my lights on the other side over here, in behind the horn, so you can see how they're in behind the horn there. You can't see them, but you can feel them, they're like right there. But they just light up that sort of this engine bay here. Very easy to do. Didn't take a lot of work whatsoever. And actually, if you look at the top of this, you can see the lights reflecting because they're just right in here. So I ran a strip across here, and I ran a strip across to the side, and I did a connection up in here where I put the two together, and then I ran one lead wire into the engine into the battery area of the bike. And the results are great because you can't even see any of the lights, you can't see any of the diodes, only in the reflection of the chrome, and it just looks totally kicked butt. Well, there you have it, the custom dynamics under accent lighting. Now this thing is super cool. What it does is, to me, it kind of gives the bike a bit of life. It gives it a bit of a character to it. And, you know, it's funny, during the day if you're riding the bike, you really don't know that it's there. It's a hidden, subtle thing that we have, and then all of a sudden I push the button in my pocket when it's at nighttime, and it completely changes the entire look of the bike. Wow factor, it just changes the bike entirely. I almost prefer to ride at night just so that I can have the lights going off while I'm riding. Now, I don't necessarily ride the bike going down the highway with these lights flashing. I certainly don't want to scare people or freak them out or distract them. But if you have them on in their full position where they're just sort of on, it looks so super cool going down the road. On that note, I want to thank you very much for watching this episode of Speed Freak TV. Don't forget to check out customdynamics.com. Go on the website, check out all the cool stuff they've got for your motorcycle and Harley Davidson. These guys are unbelievable. Oh, scared the shit out of me. Ugh. Stay. And on that note, thanks for watching Speed Freak TV Project Softail. I've been appreciating all the comments and all the questions I've been getting in the previous episodes of the series. And don't forget to like, share, Facebook comment. You guys know what to do. I appreciate all the support. And we'll see you on the next episode of Project Softail.